That's just a personal opinion right there. That's not fact. I mean, they can't count that down as fact or anything, but that's my opinion of this.
It's really interesting because to the people who believe that Fred aided Maura in getting away or in disappearing and maybe gave her that $4,000, Fred wouldn't have wanted the police to search that hard, so he wouldn't have changed his story, right?
Yeah. I don't think you. And he's also trying to get the FBI involved. He's trying to go down and beat down on the doors of legislators and try to get. He's trying to get everything he can about the case. And I think if you really were covering up something that you still gotta. I guess you'd still have to put on some kind of an act. But yeah, he's definitely going the extra mile if this is all an act and he was involved in her disappearance in some way.
Right, and wasn't he on private property in the weeks and months after her disappearance, and people had called the police and they came out, and wasn't he like kind of wandering or like searching through that area?
He came back all the time. He had
came back right to that scene.
Right. He had a contracting job. I think he was a radiologist. He had a contracting job in Connecticut that went on for several years. And so he'd come back, I think it was every other weekend. I'm not 100% sure on that, but he would come back and he would be right around the area where her car went missing. He would do his own little searches there. And finally, at some point, he brought in some investigators. And that's when you heard about the rusty knife and the A-frame house and all this other stuff that came out about finding evidence, and that was all done by him and his investigators.
So thank you very much to Clint Harding for that interview. That was pretty interesting stuff, huh, Lance?
Yeah, seriously. He provided a lot of information that comes from the early part of this investigation, which is what we're looking for. He's talking about, in detail, he's talking about the phone calls that Maura got the night that she was escorted back to her dorm by Karen Mayotte. I thought that was really interesting. I thought it was really interesting that he took the trip up there, and what he has in his head, this like picture of her supervisor guiding her back, like holding her and guiding her back to her dorm, which is that's the picture that we've all kind of got in our heads about this, is that she walks her back and guides her to her room and tucks her in and everything. Yeah. And it's literally like next door. It's like a couple of steps. So yeah, he really put things into perspective there for me with the visual.
Yeah, and as far as some of the speculation we were doing, trying to get into some of the details of the Patrice Vassy accident and everything, we're just trying to explore all avenues with this, all possibilities. I mean, we don't know what happened. We're not trying to push any theories. We're just trying to explore all likely scenarios.
Right, and we wouldn't be exploring this scenario if the Patrice Vassy accident happened the night before.
Right.
It happened in a time frame that is pretty ideal for what went down with Maura that night.
If you believe that Maura struck Patrice Vassy, then you likely should believe that Billy Rausch knows that.
Exactly, based on Maura's reaction after, based on the fact that she had her cell phone with her, and based on the fact that that call was actually made, and the fact that Patrice was hit during that time. So if you do believe that, yeah, absolutely.
No matter what your theory is, this interview just shook it all up.
It completely shook it all up for me, because I'm listening to this guy Clint, and he's like, I'm listening to a real guy with, the accent, and he doesn't sound like he's got any ulterior motive there, right?
I don't think so.
No agenda. He went into this because it's in him to find truth in things.
Yeah, he's a real truth seeker. And we'll have Clint back on to talk more about the A-frame house and the rusty knife that he mentioned. Thank you very much for listening. Maura Murray was born on May 4th, 1982 in Hanson, Massachusetts. By the age of 21, she was 5'7" and 120 pounds. On February 9th, 2004, in Haverhill, New Hampshire, Maura Murray crashed her car on Route 112. There has never been a confirmed sighting of Maura since that night. If you have any information on the whereabouts of Maura Murray, please contact the New Hampshire State Police. This is the Missing Maura Murray podcast. Welcome back to the Missing Maura Murray podcast. Today we are going to read 2 letters that Fred Murray, Maura's dad, wrote to one incoming governor of New Hampshire and one outgoing governor of New Hampshire. And we wanted to read these letters because we find them interesting. It is important to note, I think, that in time of crisis, you don't know how you would react, so it's really hard to judge someone on his words during a time of crisis. Lance is going to pick up the reading of the letter, but you can also go to YouTube and read the letter along with this video. The link is in the show notes, but also you can just go to youtube.com/Missing Maura Murray. Also, if you have anything to say to us or add to this case, we would love to interact with you. Please email us at missingmauramurray@gmail.com, and please follow our Twitter account at MauraMurrayDoc, DOC. Thank you very much.
On February 9th, 2005, the one-year anniversary of Maura's disappearance, her father, Fred Murray, wrote one letter to Governor Craig Benson, and he wrote another letter to Governor John Lynch. The letter to Craig Benson reads, Governor Benson, my daughter, Maura Murray, went missing after a one-car accident on February 9th, 2004, approximately 7 p.m., while she was heading east on Route 112 near North Haverhill, New Hampshire. Eyewitnesses place her at the crash site at 1 or 2 minutes before the local police arrived, and no one was seen to stop and pick her up in a vehicle. This means that when police reached the scene, Maura could have been no further than a couple of 100 yards up the road around the first corner walking away. Another witness who stopped and talked with her reported to the police upon their arrival that the driver of the car was a young woman of approximately 20 years of age. He added that he thought she'd been drinking. There was an empty beer bottle found in the car, and in addition, there was a spider hole in the driver's side of the windshield indicating that she had struck her head at impact. The temperature that evening was 12 degrees. Given these known facts, it was grossly negligent of the police to not dispatch a cruiser in active pursuit in a spirited effort to retrieve an unsuspecting and vulnerable girl with a possible head injury and subject to hypothermia because of alcohol and frigid temperatures before she wandered into the pitch black of the national forest looming just ahead. The police had full knowledge that if she were to encounter someone with ill intent, that she would have no place to hide, no place to run, and absolutely no help available. Furthermore, duty as well as common sense obligates the police to call ahead to the next town in the direction they had to assume she was heading. They knew they had not passed her as they drove east to the accident site during their response to the 911 call.